Over the past 20 years, the Fast and Furious franchise has produced many films, including sequels and spin-offs. Then, we also got television shows and video games. However, it seems like we're about to see the film that will change everything in the franchise. Why? Well, the 10th film is the finale and is split in two because, well, keep watching to find out.
Yeah, my dad built her. 900 horses of Detroit muscle. It's a beast.
Fast and Furious 10 will be split in two. The Fast and Furious franchise is doing it again. You probably thought there's nothing to tell anymore since, well, we've seen 9 films so far, but you're wrong. The series has continued to tell the story over the years, covering up every possible perspective, even taking its characters to outer space. This doesn't mean the producers are done. No, they have a lot more to tell. So they decided to split the last film into 2 halves. According to Vin Diesel, Fast and Furious 10 needs to be told over the course of 2 movies because there's so much ground to cover. The cast and the crew had to travel to all these wonderful places, and they're part of the reason why Fast and Furious 10 has to be broken into 2 different movies. It's because there's so much ground to cover. And there are so many places, in so many locations in the world, that they have to visit, explained the actor.
It took longer than I expected.
Release date. With the arrival of F9, dedicated fans of the franchise couldn't help but crave more of the extended story. The pandemic stood on the film's path, and because of it, the film was delayed. But if we look at the bright side, this means that the film will have more time to be produced, and even though we won't see Fast and Furious 10 in theaters soon, the producers have more time to focus on the story and present the best conclusion of the franchise. Fast and Furious 10 was originally slated to be released April 2, 2021, but then F9 was delayed in early 2020, pushing back its release many times before Universal finally decided to take the franchise's 10th installment off the release schedule entirely. Now, the official release date for F10 is April 7, 2023, but despite all those delays and issues, we still have some plot and cast pieces of information that'll blow your mind.
Steal from the corner shop. But it was me who braved the old man's belt.
Cast. Fast and Furious 10 and 11, or Fast 10 Part 1 and Part 2, will be the end of the franchise. This is a big change, and we expect a lot of twists in the plot. However, one thing that surprised the fans the most is that a very important actor won't be back to say goodbye. It's been confirmed that Dwayne Johnson won't be reprising his role as Luke Hobbs. The reason? His tight schedule. He wants to focus on his spin-off movie Hobbs Shaw. Johnson appeared in every film since the 5th one, but skipped 9 and won't be back for the 2 final films. How the producers will fill out his departure is a big question, but since this is the finale of the Fast story, we guess they will simply recast. Do you guys have any adequate actors in mind for this role? Let us know. Vin Diesel's Dom and Michelle Rodriguez's Letty will certainly come back, and when it comes to the late Brian O'Connor, he's also expected to appear as hinted at in F9's finale. He'll appear through CGI and special effects, of course. This only explains the big budget that is spent for the last 2 films in the franchise. We also expect that most of the major players introduced over the years will be back to reprise their roles one last time. In October 2020, Deadline announced that Vin Diesel will be returning as Dominic Toretto, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty Ortiz. Then there's Tyrese Gibson's Roman Pierce, Chris Ludacris Bridges, Tej Parker, Jordana Brewster's Mia Toretto, Nathalie Emmanuel's Ramsey, and Sung Kang's Han Lu. But you'll be surprised to know that Cardi B will also return as Leza in the 10th installment of the franchise, and this time her role won't be a minor one. Instead, the film will bring much more focus to her, as explained by Vin Diesel in an interview with EW. And for those of you interested, if Paul Walker's daughter, Meadow, will make an appearance in the last film, Diesel said that nothing has been decided yet. Now, we've come to the most interesting part of our video. Fast and Furious 10 and 11 plot. What to expect. The 9th installment of the franchise ended on a pretty clear note, meaning it didn't end on a cliffhanger that can continue the story in the next 2 films or at least serve as a plot for the next installment. So it's pretty difficult to guess where the film could go. There's a couple of questions that fans kept asking themselves, such as if Mr. Nobody's still alive and what kind of plot Jacob has in mind. But let's talk about that ending credit sequence in which we saw Han visit Shaw. Shaw was clearly surprised by his arrival, so now fans come up with different theories about what Shaw could do now. Maybe he'll become evil again and will cause problems? If the franchise continues using the same plot themes, we should expect another saving the world mission. But as we previously said, not so many plot details are known for the last installment of the franchise, and all actors are trying not to release any spoilers or leak any other piece of information. Nevertheless, that didn't stop fans from coming up with their own different theories about what could happen next. So feel free to share yours down in the comment section below. Fast and Furious 10 as the first chapter. Do you guys ever wonder why the Fast and Furious franchise is so popular? Being able to create 10 films that audiences love almost equally is a pretty big deal. Well, the Fast and Furious movies appeal to a lot of people because they focus on relationships in a way that is pretty unique. And with the performance of Vin Diesel, you can't skip a film of the franchise and not feel the depth of it, even though people rarely talk about how emotional these films are. Nevertheless, Fast and Furious 10 will be completely different than the previous films. As aforementioned, it'll be the first chapter in a two-part finale for the franchise that, believe it or not, started 20 years ago. This way, fans would receive a proper goodbye. What do you guys think though? Is a traditional sequel more ideal, or you're satisfied with the decision for the final installment to be a two-part story? Let us know down in the comment section below. Franchise director Justin Lin would come back to direct the films, and when it comes to the name of the film, there are still no official statements released. Multi-billion-dollar success. Yes, you heard that right. Fast and Furious is a multi-billion-dollar success. The franchise has earned $5.574 billion worldwide over the course of 9 films, and one of those films, Furious 7, is the 7th highest-grossing film of all time with $1.5 billion. That's a lot of money we're talking about, and if we follow logic, the last film is expected to bring plus $1 billion into that number. There's something weird about the popularity of the franchise. We're not saying that the franchise is bad, not at all. But according to a lot of reports, there is a really interesting reason for the franchise being so successful. The franchise is not based on any popular book or an old popular film. Instead, it all began with a single movie called The Fast and the Furious back in 2001. From very humble beginnings, the film turned into a $38 million budget success, and the reason for its enormous popularity is the theme that involves family values. It's pretty obvious. Ever since the beginning, the franchise uses the theme to gather a big audience, but we're of course not talking about a family such as the one in Malcolm in the Middle. No, the show perfectly presents that your family is the people you're surrounded with.
Sold it to a Jordanian prince living up there. Trust fund billionaire, so they wanted to use it for his supercar.
So guys, now you know how the Fast and Furious franchise endured for 2 decades. What do you guys think the end of the franchise will be like? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed our video, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss any of our videos in the future. As always, thanks for watching guys.